Hey, we are live. What is up, everybody? Storytellers Union is live.
We are live.
Three of us.
We are red.
We're red in our red dining room here. Doug's very black and white.
In my black and white basement.
You are.
We were going with the white stripes theme. So, anybody that just tunes in right now must think that we're like getting ready to do a white stripes cover, but that's not.
There's no hint there.
No, there's not a hint. It was actually a coincidence.
Yeah,
Wow.
I forgot that he was wearing a red shirt, and I came down wearing a red shirt.
She sat right down and goes, "Were you wearing that earlier?" I'm like, pretty much all day.
I don't know what he wears. I don't pay attention. He's got a haircut, thanks to me.
I don't think I have any red shirts. They're all black with wrestling logos on them.
There's not a single shirt in your wardrobe, a wrestling related shirt that is red?
No. I have a Cesaro shirt. I take that back. It looks like a lifeguard shirt. It's like an older Cesaro shirt with a big red.
Do you have the new Cesaro shirt?
The new? No, I don't.
Is it in the mail? We had
So, folks, if you're just now tuning in, it's not yet 1 minute into the broadcast after Jerry said, "Do not talk wrestling," and guess what? Doug's talking.
And then I acted on by saying, "Do you have the new Cesaro shirt?" Because we were talking about it over the weekend. I bet Doug's already got that.
I knew it wouldn't take him very long.
What does it look like? Hold on, let me go to the shop. WWE.
What is it? It's the Wrestling Purist shirt.
So anyone joining right now, Storytellers Union,
is a band. We make music.
We make music, and Doug shops online.
That's what I'm doing
live on the internet for your.
Should I show my screen for this?
Maybe that's not why we're here. We're here to talk music. If you want to hear us talk wrestling, we do that too, but we do that on Sunday nights,
without Jerry. Yeah,
without Jerry. But
she's welcome, But
I have offered.
Yeah,
to give the female perspective on things
about how we watch way too much wrestling.
No. I've offered to give the female perspective on some things.
Hey, Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Thank you for joining. And thanks everybody for joining. As hopefully your all summers, are going well, or at least as well as can be expected, guys. It's not the normal summer.
What?
I mean,
it's not the normal year. I mean, let's be honest. I'm just waiting for the alien overlords to show up at this point.
We've all heard enough about coronavirus, so let's talk about it.
We are going to talk about it at least a little bit, because that's part of why we're joining you, remotely from separate locations, as we've done a couple times this summer, just to kind of check in, because, there isn't a whole lot on TV. There's not a whole lot of places you can go. Doug, your free time, what is it?
You guys are frozen. You guys are totally locked up. Oh, I hear voices, but Nope, there we go. There we go.
That's strange. That happened to us the other night. Let me check this again. Make sure. Well, we're connected. Very strange. But anyway, hopefully that won't happen again. Doug, how have you been spending your free time?
Making music.
And
talking wrestling every Sunday night at 8 p.m.
No wrestling talk. You have been making a lot of music. You have been keeping the Dropbox full.
I try and keep the Dropbox full. I do. And you guys have been making quite a bit of music too.
Well,
you guys have been answering my musical question. Our musical conversation is traveling across the interwebs back and forth, and is forming a dialogue.
I know last time we did one of these, folks, we hinted at the fact that we were trying to use our time, since there's no things really to do in the evenings, or concerts for us to go to. We travel to so many concerts, and so we're if there is a silver lining to there being less to do, we have been a little more concentrated on, let's use this time to be creative. And Doug has definitely kept the music flowing. So we are happy to announce that we got some new music that we've been working on, and we don't want to get into too much details on the original stuff, other than it's coming along really nicely, and hopefully we'll be able to here in the one of the next times we do some of these, we'll be able to maybe solidify some some dates. And I mean, we're definitely, I'd say, Doug, it's fair to say we're on our way to a new record.
Oh, absolutely. We're definitely on our way to a new record. I was just looking in Dropbox, and I think there's, we're double digits into songs that are just sitting out there or waiting, and then we are close to double digits in the songs that have actually been completed. I think we could almost drop a double album if we so chose to do so at this point.
Yeah.
Not that we're making one feel guilty.
I mean, really.
What?
Okay, so I have, while the two of these guys have just been
Talking
like
a lot of wrestling.
that, and making a lot of music. This one's been writing up a storm, and then hear him singing into his phone and beating stuff out on the desk, and he's just he's beatbox now.
It's going to be a very eclectic album.
But no, it's like, and then I have this cough thing that's come back, and I lost my voice completely for 2 days last week. So I'll get there.
So
I've got to sing. I have to sing.
Yeah, she's.
I need to sing. I need to shout and sing.
That she does. But we also have, and not just original work that we've been doing, is everyone is aware. Hopefully, if you're following us on either Facebook or YouTube, that we've been using this summer to do what we call the summer cover series. And honestly, I don't know if it's helped you or not, Doug, but it's, in some ways, for me, the original music we were just talking about, in some ways it's been inspired by the covers we have been doing. It's just the idea of doing some other music and other people's music seems like it, sort of broke free a creative logjam, at least for me, and made me just want to start working on our stuff a whole lot more too.
Absolutely. I think anytime you can always learn by playing other people's songs and then incorporate those things into your own music. And I think that's definitely happened here. And and we've also taken some inspiration. I know we were talking a few weeks ago about a song structure, and I immediately referenced Dead Flowers. No, it's set up like Dead Flowers. It goes from this to this to this. And then I realized, oh, look what's happening there.
I mean, we typically, as a band who really, we're a recording project. We have jobs, we have, daytime lives that are, not full-time musicians by any means. We don't really play out, so we really don't do a whole lot of covers. And so this was kind of new for us to, sort of challenge ourselves to see, what we can come up with.
Hey, gal.
Hey, Pooh. Yeah, I think when we started talking about it, it was for that particular reason, and of like, okay, it stretches your creativity. It puts you outside your comfort zone sometimes to try to do covers and things like that. So I feel like mission accomplished with that to a certain degree. I mean, some are more comfortable than others, but
we would definitely, if we were a band that played out regularly, we'd be filling our sets out with lots of cover songs. But where we are typically have spent most of our time working on our own stuff for the last 15 years or so, we really didn't attempt covers, and so it's been kind of a fun diversion. And we want to thank everyone for supporting what we've already put out there. And if you haven't seen it yet, we have a couple of John Prine covers we've done over the last month and a half. And then as well as Doug referenced it earlier, we got really good reaction for the Rolling Stones song that we did. We did a sort of a stripped back version, wouldn't you say, Doug? Maybe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As much as I wanted to push it for a full band version, I think the better call was made there to let's strip it back and just keep it acoustic, which because I will always overproduce anyway. So I think that was a good call. You guys reeling me in on that one.
Well, we do have a full band version that Doug put together that sounded great, but honestly, just we were really happy with the way the sort of laid back country-ish version was coming across, and it seems like you all agreed. So again, if you haven't seen it yet, go out there. It's still on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. But as we promised you, though, we would be doing covers all summer long. And guys, it's been a month since we've dropped a cover, so I think it's about time we drop another one.
Summer just started a week ago.
Well, never mind then, everybody. Good night.
We are ahead of schedule then. Thanks, Jared.
That's my point.
We started this a month and a half ago, and it's been more than a month since
we started it in the spring.
We said fresh covers all summer long, so it's time we drop another one.
So we got ahead of ourselves apparently by dropping what do we have 3 covers in the bag already, and then out there on the interwebs, 2 John Prine and a Rolling Stone, and summer just started. Look how overachieving we are.
Or look how long we've been locked up.
Well, that ain't changing anytime soon.
No, it's not, which is why we need to keep the music coming, and we want to start with a change of pace. So, the John Prine songs, which obviously Labor of Love that we did in deference to one of our heroes who passed away from this awful disease. Obviously a folk singer. And then we had our stripped back cover of Rolling Stones. So we took the rock and roll and toned that down to something nice and back porch and laid back. But we're going to do something different with this next one.
Just a little bit. We're going from that countryish Rolling Stones to some New York punk with our next one.
So for anyone who had in their betting pool punk rock for Storytellers Union, you probably just got a whole big bunch of money. So you want to say, Jared, what it is that our punk cover is going to be?
Well, it's a cover by a little band called the Ramones, and actually it's a song Kevin really turned me on to that I wasn't as familiar with the Ramones, called I Believe in Miracles.
And we'll be debuting our video for I Believe in Miracles a week from tonight at the same time that we started with this. So 8 o'clock
next Tuesday.
So you can enjoy your 4th of July and have yourself a long weekend, and then get back into your week. And on Tuesday, tune in and hear what punk rock sounds like, Storyteller style. Doug and I, this is not there's sort of some significance really behind this song. Like Jared said, it was one that she wasn't familiar with. So, I mean, if you're not familiar with I Believe in Miracles, it's not, I want to be sedated, or, I mean, it's not prime era Ramones. It was, released in 1989. So it was a good 10 years after their heyday. And because of that, it really is a lost gem. But Doug, there's a reason why it kind of got back on our radar. You want to talk a little bit about that?
So back when you put together our documentary chronicling our early years, there was a recording of us doing this in a garage band, not the Apple app garage band, but an actual real legit garage band where we were playing in a garage. And probably damaged our hearing a bit, but there was and I'm sure that was a cassette recording too, like a Jambox recording set up in the corner somewhere. But I mistakenly thought it was the actual Ramones song until you corrected me and said, "Nope, that's us trying to knock some Ramones out." And the little snippet of it got me thinking, and I think it may have been instrumental in kicking off our summer concert series, because it was like, we should cover this again. We should return to this. So it's been a song that we've played, along with many U2 songs back in the day, but this one is one that made it all the way. It's followed us along.
We could probably put this one back on the back of Dave McGuire if he's watching or not. Dave
Absolutely.
was and still is an excellent guitarist, and sort of brought Doug and I into the fold of being in a teenage rock band and the garage band in the day. And I would say, without remembering exactly how this song got introduced to us in 1989. That would have been, I would have been entering my senior year of high school. Doug, you'd been a junior, and Dave would have been just, having graduated. But I'm going to guess he's the one that introduced it to us.
I'm going to agree with that. It was definitely McGuire, and I understand he's in the studio right now from seeing some of his Facebook posts. I believe he's in the studio with his band, Bad Keys of the Mountains, right now. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was earlier today I saw him sitting down to a pedal steel guitar to lay some tracks down. So I'm really looking forward to those originals coming from out of his band.
Yeah, that's some really good sounding stuff for sure. And he, in the documentary, Doug talks a lot about how instrumental Dave was into turning him on to music that was beyond his, what he'd already been listening to. And I can say the same for Dave as well as Doug, because at the time and this is also we talk about in our documentary. I'm a kid of the radio. Anything that wasn't on the radio, I had no idea of a lot of the early rock, classic rock. Certainly didn't have any familiarity with indie rock or the punk scene or any of that. And that world opened up to me when I became, joined in with you guys and started, playing a combination of originals and covers. But the Ramones were definitely, I think, for any garage band. I mean, how can you not love the Ramones? Because I mean, it's easy to play.
Right, right. And but we, of course, being the oddballs that we are, didn't go with a classic Ramones song. We went with something from the later catalog instead of something like "I Want to Be Sedated" or something along those lines.
And that's what I think it's going to stand out in our cover series here too, because the Prine songs we've done are all famous in the world of folk and John Prine songs, just like Dead Flowers is with the Stones. But this may be one of the more obscure choices that even if you are familiar with the Ramones, this might be one that wasn't one that is known by you all either, because 1989 it was on an album called Brain Drain. And Joey has famously said it was one of his least favorite Ramones albums ever, which it's really interesting though. I've always was fascinated by that album, because even though it definitely is not prime era Ramones if you listen to it beginning to end. However, there are several songs on there that rank as some great Ramones work, as well as some of their more famous work, as it turned out, because I Believe in Miracles is the song that kicks off that album, but it also includes Pet Sematary, which they had done for the movie Pet Sematary, not the remake of recent years, but the original Stephen King Pet Sematary.
With the immortal Fred Gwynn.
Yeah, I was going to say Fred Gwynn.
Yeah. Sometimes dead is better.
He says that all the time.
Louis.
There you go.
He quotes that.
I think that, now that we're saying that may be as much why we probably had that CD.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because of Pet Sematary, which ended up being one of the biggest hits they ever had.
Who knew that Pet Sematary would have such a shape on our musical influence?
Or Fred Gwynn.
Fred Gwynn.
Yeah.
Herman Munster for the win. Come on.
And that album, again, it contained this Lost Gem and I Believe in Miracles. It contained one of their biggest hits ever because of the tie-in with Pet Sematary. And then almost as a throwaway bonus track at the end, probably ends up being the song of theirs that gets played the most. But Merry Christmas, I Don't Want to Fight Tonight, which became a rock and roll Christmas classic, was tacked on the end of that. So for an album that they all hated, that was, a good 10 years past their heyday, and there'd been 10 years of band changes and infighting and everything else amongst the band, so it wasn't pleasurable for them to put it together. There's actually some real diamonds in the rough on that album, and hopefully this is one that you all will agree is something that it had been done. I truly think it had been done 10 years earlier. It would be ranking right up there with some of the songs they're more known for.
It's a fun song.
It is a fun song.
So next Tuesday at 8:00, tune in, and you can hear us doing that. And then beyond that, we got some, we got a few other covers in the hopper. I know we talked about original music too. We're continuing to work on that, but we're certainly keeping with our promise to get covers out all summer long and challenge ourselves to do that. And we got some others that on our way that, again, a mix of styles. So we've got our folk stuff out there, and now we're going to do a punk rock song, and we got a couple other genres that are going to be represented before the summer's said and done.
That's what you have to do. We have to. We have eclectic music taste, so you kind of have to go across the board and find stuff that you like, stuff that you could actually try to pull off, and then things that maybe introduce people to other stuff. And then my preference is always that somebody just thinks I wrote it.
So obscure that everybody thinks you just wrote it.
I mean, think about how many people become famous that, well, we're talking about John Prine, John Prine's a great example, for people throw out John Prine songs and think, I love that song, the Bonnie Raitt song, Angel from Montgomery. And you're like, yeah, it's a John Prine song.
Actually, yeah. Last time we did one of these, and we were asking you guys out there for any suggestions you might have. Steve Herzog chimed in.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's watching or not tonight, but he chimed in that he wanted to hear Jerry do the Pretenders song "Goodbye," and that
was from the Officer and a Gentleman soundtrack.
Well, we found out that's what it was, because at first I'm thinking, man, I know some Pretenders songs and the hits, and we love the Pretenders, but not so familiar with that song. And it's a good example of what Jerry was talking about, because as soon as we start playing it, we're like, hey, wait a minute.
That's Steve Earle's song.
That's a Steve Earle song. Steve had done the original.
This is the song. I'm like, if we're covering this, I'm not doing that finger picking because I can't.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was suggested last time
I love that song. It's a fantastic song. I wasn't putting two and two together when Steve mentioned it. And we were like, okay, and then afterwards we looked it up and we're like listening to it. And I found that it was from the Officer and a Gentleman soundtrack. What was the Officer? No, A Few Good Men. I'm sorry. It was a Few Good Men soundtrack. Same thing, I guess. But and yeah, sure enough, it was the same song. So see, I mean.
So if you're watching, Steve, we haven't covered it just yet, but we're still obviously kicking around the idea of where we go next with our
and there'll be no finger picking, by the way. No finger picking.
And next Tuesday we'll be premiering our cover of the Ramones' I Believe in Miracles, which I wrote.
Which Jerry. Okay.
There are no Ramones left actually to debate her on this, right? So I guess we can kind of claim it. I mean,
and there's our first copyright strike on YouTube.
Well, we always knew it was going to happen.
Well, it was probably going to happen with me.
Yeah.
I mean,
I thought it was going to be the Edge calling a strike against Doug.
The Edge or McGuire, one or the others. I've stole liberally from both of them over the years.
So you're talking about how we have eclectic music taste, which is probably why our albums come across sometimes the two albums we got out there, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, because we really do have sort of across the board taste. In this time of not having a lot in the way of TV, I've been listening to a lot more music. What is it that you guys have been getting inspiration from and or listening to lately? Anything new, anything that we can tell the folks they need to go out there and start streaming while they wait for our cover and our new album?
Give it to me, David Poole. Tell me the soul artists we need to be listening to, because you're my go-to. If I hear somebody new and I like, 9 times out of 10 I can either text David Poole and say, do you know this person? Have you heard this person? And I think I don't know if he's ever not heard of them. So he's a good go-to for musical opinions and advice. Especially when it comes to soul and R&B kind of music.
Doug?
I tend to create more than I consume, especially right now. So I don't.
If you've not been I know you're a Neil Young, like a hardcore Neil Young fan. To you or anyone else out there, the new Neil Young is a must-hear. Have you heard it yet, Doug?
I've not heard all the new Neil Young. I've heard some bits and pieces of it. I listened to the new Dylan just the other day for the first time, but I haven't. I would like a second listen, but I haven't had a chance to go back and truly absorb it, because I really do end up creating a lot more than I consume now. So I don't know.
There's only so much room in that head.
And things are trying to get out instead of go in. So
funny thing about the new Dylan album, of course, there's this, the song on there about the JFK assassination that's 92 minutes long, I think, officially, something like that, right? It's 17 minutes, truthfully, something like that.
You know how competitive Mr. Zimmerman is. He heard Pebbles and he's like, well, watch this.
I challenge accepted.
So the first time, yeah, so Kevin was listening to it and he was reading the lyrics and stuff at the same time. And I come in and I hadn't heard it, or maybe I'd heard it like from afar or something, just so I come in about halfway through. I sat down and all I'm hearing is the list at the end, sort of toward the end of the song, this list of, play this band, play this song, and play this artist, and and play it for this. And I start laughing. I look at Kevin and I go, "So this is a song that's difficult to come in the middle of and have any idea what it's really about, because to me it just sounds like a list of like the albums you should be listening to right now." This is the context. If you just go right into the middle of it, you're going to completely lose it for certain.
In Bob's defense, it is hard to do a 17-minute song and know what it's about when you come in the middle of it. You've already missed the first 9 minutes, so you've missed the setup. But it is beginning to end. That it is, to me, the best Dylan album since probably Love and Theft at the very least, if not. In Modern Times and Things was good, but I mean, this is I think the master at his peak, and not, I guess, what you would expect from a guy who hadn't done an album of original material in 9 years, and it's knocking on 80 here on his next birthday. He's
hard to believe.
Yeah, and just the depth. I know, Doug, what you're saying about needing to go back and listen to it, because if you listen to it once, I mean, you could. And Dylan fans do and will, but they will be dissecting the lyrics in this thing. It is so deep. As a lyricist, like that first song alone, you could spend weeks just digging into the references and the literary allusions, and just the wordplay that Dylan is so famous for is not been diminished with time in the slightest. And that Neil Young, to go back to that,
that Neil Young,
that Neil Young, crazy Canadian.
When I say new album, it's actually a lost Neil Young album. So if you're not so down with modern Neil Young, don't let that scare you off. I kind of get you that when he's singing entire albums about his electric car and things, he's kind of losing me sometimes too. Or the one album that's just a whole rant on Monsanto and all that. I appreciate where his heart's at, but Neil can be hit or miss. But this was an album that he recorded after he recorded Harvest, which was the biggest pop album, I guess you could say, of his career. It was the most mainstream success he ever had, and he did this following a really difficult breakup. And it was still a little bit like that Harvest style, so it's a little poppier for him, and it also contains so much heartbreak. He thought it was maybe too raw and too personal, so he actually played the album for a group of friends, as well as another album he'd done around that time that you might have heard of, called Tonight's the Night, and asked which one he should put out. And overwhelmingly, of course, they picked the 5-star classic that would be Tonight's the Night. But left that sitting on the shelf for 40 years. This album that Neil Young fans have been dying to hear in its completed entirety. And so 40 years on, this is not some just throwaway. It is definitely an album that you could put on with the classics that Neil was doing in the late 60s and early to mid 70s, and it would not sound out of place at all. In fact, it kind of sounds like the link between Harvest and Tonight's the Night. So if you dig those two albums, you got to go check this one out.
You're talking about Neil and him letting a group of friends listen and pick. Maybe we should do that, because we are creating quite a bit of content right now, and maybe we should live stream some of the new stuff as we get closer, as we finish things up and have enough for an album, and let everybody pick what, say 6, 8, 10. I don't know. I'm sure we're going to end up with close to 15, if not 20, by the time everything's said and done. So maybe we do something like that and let everybody pick what we put on a new album.
That could be some interesting way to go about it.
I think so.
Even like we sat around and listened to the rock and roll version of Dead Flowers, as well as the laid back version of Dead Flowers, and we chose the laid back version. So
right, yeah.
Even production choices like what do you think? Strings here, no strings here. That could be kind of,
I think that'd be kind of fun. It's a little bit of
yeah.
an interactive production exercise. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too,
Yep,
because
okay.
I mean, it is the three of us. So when you're trying to sometimes be your own worst critic, sometimes you might either you're too critical or maybe not critical enough. So maybe opening up to some other opinion. Actually, and we can get
Hi,
a chat right
I'm
here.
too critical.
Well,
Yeah, I'm too critical as well.
what did we do on the last album, Doug? What did we do on Kids on the Same Ride? I mean, we had a sounding board. We had and he might be watching too. But shout out to Chuck, right?
Absolutely. Actually, he just dropped a new song into Dropbox. He let me listen to a full band version of something he released on Facebook and YouTube, which we need to share for him and get it out onto some more eyes, because he does an acoustic version of a new song that he did and put it
And
out
it's
there on
great.
YouTube and Facebook. So we need to share that with him. Check him out at
It's
Chuck
great.
Mullins. I believe it is Chuck Mullins on YouTube, and obviously it's Chuck on Facebook. But check it out; he dropped something new. But he has a full band version of it that he just recorded. It's very cool.
And Chuck, I mean, Chuck was a kind of what you were saying, opening it up for people here on Facebook or YouTube. Chuck was that for us on the last album, because when it is just the three of us and we're not sure, if what we think is good is actually good, we used him as a a third party that from the outside could tell us, well, I think he was helping you with some of your production, like
Absolutely, yeah, because that's somebody else who can say, "Doug, stop, it's done," or "You
yeah,
need to fix this or fix that," or turn those vocals up, turn those guitars down. Yeah, he's definitely a sounding board for all my production choices. Once we finish a song, and I'll send him multiple mixes and say, "Which one? What do I need to do here? What are your ears telling you?" Because he's got him a nice little home studio set up there in Logan.
So shout out to Chuck and thank you for that. And that is a good idea, Doug. Particularly as we get closer, we're still in the beginning stages of this new music. We're getting really excited about. But yeah, I think that particularly if it comes time where we need to start to whinny it down a little bit, make some decisions. Getting some folks to chime in here on YouTube or on Facebook would be great. And by the way, if you are watching on one and not the other, and you do the other, follow us there as well. So if you're watching on
absolutely.
YouTube, make sure if you would, go to the Storytellers Union Facebook page and begin to follow us, and vice versa. We know we have been on Facebook a lot longer than we have had our YouTube channel, but if you do YouTube as well, have a YouTube account, and you're watching us now on Facebook, be sure to go and follow us if you would. Subscribe.
Look at that. There we go. Thank you, Jer.
You're welcome.
So
But also, speaking of YouTube, I have a YouTube channel where I do a lot of gear reviews and stuff. So I'm going to start doing those over on our Storytellers Union too, so that we can see a peek inside the Storytellers Union studio and a lot of the gear I use and a lot of new toys that come out. So I'll be doing a lot more demos and just playing around and showing you. You'll hear a lot of what have recently become Storytellers Union songs, and probably things that will eventually become Storytellers Union songs coming out of that. So be on the lookout for that as far as content goes going forward over on our YouTube, and of course we'll share that on Facebook too.
And we've shouted out a few friends of ours who are also musicians, and so we know a lot of folks that do follow our pages are also creating their own content, and particularly anybody out there who is a gearhead and you haven't seen any of Doug's videos, you definitely get honest and open reviews and easy how-tos. And for those of you who dig your gear and equipment, he's our gadget junkie, and he
Yeah.
I am the gadget junkie. I know
stuff.
I do like my stuff, and I've leaned very much into the digital versions of a lot of things that I would not have touched, say 5 or even 10 years ago. But there's so much technology has come so far, and for guys like me sitting in my basement trying to make music, a tube amp isn't really an option to crank up at midnight to go ahead and mic it up and try and get a sound. But there's a lot of cool gadgets out there for folks like me, and maybe like you too. So check that out.
It's a lot like you two, in fact. If
it's very much like. Actually, I think we're more like the Ramones with a lot of this stuff that we've been recording as of late than you two.
No spoilers. No spoilers. We have talked, folks, that this is definitely what's been cool about this music coming together the way that it has. Our new music is that it is taking on a personality very different from the first two records. Because truthfully, record number one was the best of 15 years worth of just wood shedding and just over and over re-recording certain songs that we never felt we were done. We didn't really have an outlet that we thought we were ever going to use it for until we decided one day we're going to call it a band, we're going to call it an album, we're going to try to finish this set of songs that we've just been recording on and off forever. So as with most bands in their first album, it's a whole life's work up to that point, and then comes album two. We had so much of that stuff. We've known each other so long. We really, a lot of the stuff on the second album also has a history that's a good 10, 15 years at least old.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It was some mix of newer and older, but this is almost all like things that are being created right now, and as such, instead of like the 1990s version of ourselves or the early 2000s version of ourselves, this is sounding very different, and so it does
some might say the 80s version of ourselves.
I think that being locked up and going, having less to do, we probably, I know you have, Doug. I kind of put you both on the spot to ask what new albums you've been listening to, but I know when I do have private conversations, you and I talking, it seems like a lot of what you're going back to is actually things that 19-year-old Doug was probably listening to, as opposed to right now, right?
I would go as far as to say it's 13 or 14-year-old Doug in some cases, because I don't know. I would love to be turned on to some new music. I just really do tend to create more than consume at this point, with everything as far as music, video, like television, movies. It's, if I'm not watching Godzilla cartoons with Liam or old school, like 1960s Godzilla, I'm down here in the basement, trying to knock out something else or trying to figure out how to route some audio so I can do a YouTube tutorial or something like that, or record a new song or just goof around with, things to create content. So
it makes me really feel like a slacker. So
she is a bit of one.
I've watched 5 seasons of The Wire.
How are those backing vocals coming?
When my voice improves. I stop screaming at the TV about the racial injustice that occurs on The Wire.
Do I need to start doing backing vocals for us?
Yes, I hear you can do that, Doug.
Artifactless pitch correction is amazing.
We got to do what we got to do, and we'll just we'll say that it's her.
I'll just shift it up an octave. It'll be fine. Nobody will know.
Yeah,
nobody's gonna know. I'm the throwaway member.
No, we're trying to keep her on track. We'll make sure that she gets her vocals done, because we got covers to do. We got originals that we're working on. If you want to talk new music that I'm listening to, the Bob Dylan, definitely. The Neil Young, which is a new old album. The new Phoebe Bridgers is fantastic. She is
who's Phoebe Bridgers?
Phoebe Bridgers was in Better Oblivion Society.
Who's Better Oblivion Society?
Connor, boy, Doug, you have been Connor Oberst. Bright Eyes.
Bright Eyes. Okay, gotcha.
Connor and Phoebe did an album. Phoebe, well, I hate to bring her up as part of something negative, but she was one of the Me Too accusers of Ryan Adams. So Ryan helped her on her first album, and apparently, yeah. So yeah, but
yeah,
she's uber talented, and her new album is absolutely fantastic. The Moses Sumney record is extremely cool. The new Moses Sumney record, and that's honestly, I don't even know genre-wise how you would categorize that. I think I just got hooked onto that by seeing the high rating on Metacritic and read the Pitchfork review. It's at times he'll remind you of Prince. It's definitely got some soul elements, but also has some real indie, auteur kind of elements to it as well. He's just super talented, and I think that I've heard some of his stuff before, but this is the best album he's done. The new Perfume Genius album is really...
Now he's just making up names.
Yeah, I don't believe you. That's not a real band.
Perfume Genius, go check it out. It's poppier than I normally listen to, but it's just right now I think everyone's kind of in that like genres don't matter anymore, because you got folks on the pop chart that are hanging out with the indie dudes, and like that kind of stuff never really happened back in the day. So I think the lines are definitely blurred now that you don't really have the rigid formatting of radio anymore to worry about.
Well, sorry, I was blasting some Perfume Genius there. Is this Darby Allin's band? What is? I thought we were going to talk about wrestling. What's going? What am I watching here? I'm pretty sure this is Darby Allin's band.
He probably could take Darby Allin in a fight. You know how I feel about
that. Stop.
Hey, he waited 38 minutes before he brought it back around.
Stop.
All right,
is the future. He is the future.
This is about music.
That is something that does. Okay.
The future of music.
The future music.
Storytellers.
The future music is Storytellers Junior, right?
That's right.
Because
we are the past, the present, and the future. The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. See, I did.
Doug, I am seriously.
See, she knows enough to know. She knows enough to know what you're.
Yeah, she's on to me. I'll stop now.
Playing it the exact same way I did when I showed you how to play it before. We'll get into an argument yet again.
I think I posted
on camera.
I think I posted earlier today a video from a year ago. Facebook reminds you of things, and a year ago we were at the Car Seat Headrest show, and it got me thinking. Yeah, they have a new album out that's pretty good too. But it really got me thinking that by far this is the longest I have gone in my adult life, and that you've probably gone in your adult life too, that we have not seen a show. Like every concert we already had tickets for, of course, are canceled, and there's nothing on the horizon. So we are sort of entertaining ourselves by listening to a lot more and doing more creating as well. But it's been since November, and I don't know that usually a month doesn't go by that we weren't seeing something.
Yeah. It's
so it's been difficult for at least 2/3 of your storytellers here. The other one gets out on occasion.
I've been training for 47 years for 2020, so I'm good.
He is in a basement, folks, and some could call it a bunker. I mean, it could be bunker-like. This is doomsday preppers.
Not a doomsday prepper, but this is Storytellers Union, Storyteller Studios East, as I'm now calling it. So.
We're not actually coming from west. That's downstairs, but
that's not our studio.
Although I do see an acoustic guitar back there.
You have an acoustic guitar.
Yeah, I see it.
This is the old girl, though. That's the old girl. It's my first, and she sounds really great right now. I put new strings on it, and like it sounds really good right now.
There's nothing quite like stringing it up, getting it in tune, and just striking that first chord on new strings. It's one of the greatest sounds. It really is. And
then coming back like the next day and strumming it and going, it's still in tune. And that's the weird thing about this guitar. It's a cheapy guitar. It was my first guitar that I had been begging for a guitar for a long time, not being so subtle. And Kevin finally got me one, and I don't know what it's been, maybe 15, 16 years ago now. And it was through Musician's Friend. It's a Rogue brand, and
the old Rogue. Yeah.
The old Rogue. And Doug's played it, several. But it's a good little guitar. It holds it,
and she has been playing it, and she has been writing. We were giving her a hard time earlier, and even though Doug might not have yet to hear some of what she's been working on, I can attest, living in the same house with her, that she's been creative as well. She's been writing. She's just
I'm as bad as Doug. I mean, I write stuff and I like it.
She likes it for the moment.
The very next morning, I wake up with morning regret, like, oh, what did I do? And I just think, it's, yeah.
So I got to keep them on track, folks. We got too much. You got too much self-doubt in Storytellers, so one of us has got to have.
So somebody's Mr. One and done. One take and okay, that's good.
I think the last time that Doug dropped me something in Dropbox I've been asking for, because I needed some additional music in order to flesh it out. I think as soon as I saw it hit Dropbox, I had it loaded up downstairs, had done like 4 or 5 vocal tracks to it, and had it back to him.
He was practically pacing the floor that night, Doug. I mean, it was like
I didn't even realize I had done that. I thought I'd screwed it up and needed to send it to him again. He's like, "No, here it is. It's done. Here you go."
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not kidding you. It's been a real, you've been on a roll because I mean, he went through a period there where he hadn't written anything for a while, and I think he was getting in a funk about it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the floodgate opened up, and then I mean, it's a regular thing that Kevin, are you going to come to bed anytime soon? Not that Doug needs to hear about that because I don't think Doug ever sleeps, but
No, he doesn't.
I don't have
yeah.
time. There's too much to get out of my head.
Doug's like the cartoons, like the old Tom and Jerry cartoons, get like your eyes propped open with toothpicks and you're like still like playing stuff.
I know I was teasing Doug earlier about the U2 thing, but obviously anybody that knows me knows I'm a huge Springsteen fan. We are huge Springsteen fans. And I once heard Bruce say that, you know, he thought that he would never write another song again. Like I know exactly what he feels like. You get in that funk where you're like, well, I guess that's just a something I don't have in me anymore. Whatever that little spark was that caused me to be able to do that is just gone. And I don't know if it's life that beats it out of you, work or just, you know, the real world responsibilities. But for a couple of years, I didn't really write anything. A lot of the stuff from the first two albums does date back quite a bit. And then once we got into the promotion of those albums and then work get busy and things like that, I just wasn't writing anymore. And then honestly, the process of being in your house more and having, you know, your evening time look exactly like your daytime did as far as your surroundings. I escaped into the music that Doug was putting out there, and suddenly there it was. And you feel like, okay, I could do 3 albums right now. I mean, it really is that kind of feast or famine where you think I'm never going to write another good song again, to I can't wait to hear the next bit of music that Doug puts out there, because I know that I'm going to be able to do something with it. And so, speaking of Doug,
Confidence.
you got to give me another verse to that one song. We won't say one.
I know. It also needs a bridge because I'm really bad about writing bridgeless songs, but I do need to write a bridge, and I have something in mind just based on what, you know, the title that I sent you is. I have a way to go with it where it could end up being about a 7-minute song now instead of like the 2-minute idea I sent you.
So, folks, if any of y'all out there have a spare bridge lying around, shoot it to Doug Hager.
Dynamite Doug, you know, of Storytellers Union.
Doug,
you need to get some shirts made. Dynamite Doug of Storytellers Union.
Well, folks, if you're tuning in just now and hear us rambling about music, we want to bring it back around to what we announced at the beginning if you didn't catch it. But we're doing our summer cover series, and you may know that because you might have hopefully seen and or liked some of the songs we've posted before. But we wanted to talk about the fact that we have done for our next cover song, I Believe in Miracles by the Ramones, and we'll be debuting it here on Facebook and YouTube a week from today at 8:00. And guys, and let's not give too much away, but if either of you want to talk a little bit about the fact that we didn't do the normal like social distancing type of video we've done before, where we've the last couple of covers where we just kind of did it on our phones. This one has a little bit of a
We did take advantage of the areas where we live actually opening up and relaxing some of the restrictions, and we're able to, I want to say, get together in a closed space for a little while. Of course, we still practice, you know, being safe, wearing a mask where appropriate when we couldn't stay 6 feet apart.
We got a concept with this one. It's fair to say it's not just 2 boxes and us just playing. So we hope that, you know, we brought a little bit of entertainment to the video, because it was we can talk a little more about it after it debuts and next time we do one of these. But it was definitely some of the most fun way I think we had putting a video together.
And for those of you who are just tuning in, and we're talking about this, so next Tuesday night at 8:00 here on our Storytellers page, we'll be premiering our next in the summer concert series and
cover series.
So I do. Yeah, you started that.
Doug said it earlier too.
Yeah.
Are we doing concerts? I think that's going to take a lot more technology than we have to do this socially distanced. But yeah, I'm up for it.
Cover series where we'll be debuting a video for
I Believe in Miracles by the
Ramones.
So,
not Jerry. Jerry did not write the song.
It's Jerry.
It's not right? Jerry Ramone. Yes.
Perception is reality. So if people want to perceive that I wrote,
So bring your perceptions to our Facebook or our YouTube channels
Or
next,
both.
or both. Ideally, support us at both. We would appreciate it.
I have a question, Doug.
Yes, Jerry.
I'm not real familiar with Storytellers Union music. Where might I find it?
You can find it on youtube.com if you just search Storytellers Union. You can also find us on Facebook. Actually, and you can also stream wherever you stream fine music.
Thank you, Doug. I
Anytime,
think I'll
Jerry.
check that out.
Album number 2 is available at all the streaming sites. Album number 1 is still via Bandcamp. So that one's not on all the streaming platforms. As well, we have an EP that we did in conjunction with album number 1 that's also out there as well. So we really have three album, 2.5-ish worth of albums out there, and we are well on our way to number 3, which is one of the things we're most excited to be talking about tonight. Is that we're definitely ready and confident enough to say that we're not just kicking around ideas, because we're all. I mean, Doug doesn't stop. When I'm, he doesn't. There's not a
that Doug just doesn't stop.
I will be down here till 7:30 in the morning. Then I'll go straight to work.
It's not like he's like, okay, this album's done, then let me take a month off and we'll start a new album. He just is constantly doesn't think an album's done, doesn't think a song's done, doesn't stop coming with ideas. So he's always throwing stuff out there. Me, I'm more faucets on, faucets off. But right now, there's no doubt about it that we're all clicking on all the cylinders and feel confident enough to say we're not just kicking around ideas like we often are doing. We're definitely recording a new record. So that is exciting, and hopefully we can keep you updated if you're following us on how that progresses. And Doug had some great ideas earlier by giving you at least some sneak peeks into the studio or to the creation of what we're doing when we get a little closer, and maybe getting your all's feedback on some things. But
actually, I think that'd be really cool for us to just crowdsource the production and layout of an album. I think that could be really cool, or very interactive.
You all tell him when he's done. Just please, just tell him.
I do need people to tell me when to stop. Okay, Doug, the song is done. That is usually Jerry. Doug, stop it. It's done. And then I do like 3 more remixes.
But
what is this? What's Gail saying here? Oh,
texted one of my favorite offerings to Jerry just now. I don't know what an offering is. What do you mean? Did you sacrifice something?
I think she's saying we should start a Patreon too. I'm thinking that's just a good.
Oh, that's hilarious. I think I can show this. Wait,
no, that's not going to work.
No, maybe that way.
Wait, is that World's Edge? Is that
the World's Edge? You can kind of see it.
Gail, do you want us to do World's Edge covers?
I think she does. I don't know how that works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that you're putting that out in the world, I will say I haven't mentioned this yet, but there are a couple of songs, Doug, that I've thought about that it'd be fun just to do an up-to-date version of 40-year-olds doing the songs that we were doing when we were teenagers, because there's a few of those that I still like enough that I would like to try.
I'm down for anything.
We know you're down for. I heard your recent your recent late night rambling.
Gail's on board. Gail's on board.
Letting go, politics of existence. Come on, land of hope and dream.
What's funny about that picture is that I would have had to have colored that. I think.
I'm pretty sure you did.
Oh, where did you get that at?
If you haven't seen the documentary, it is on our Facebook and YouTube channels both. You can hear the story of World's Edge, which is what we're talking about. If you don't know, it was our band that we were in high school, college, depending on the era and where we were at the time. But the documentary not only has a lot of footage of that period. Photos of that period, but I don't know how many original songs actually appear in the documentary. That's probably something I need to go listen to and just count up. But there's a lot of stuff out there that there's no other way of hearing right now except for the snippets that we include in that doc. And back then we did do covers. Getting back to the covers thing. Back in
I
There's
think
a
I
Pearl
covered.
Jam song in. There's a Ramones song in the documentary. The one that we're premiering next week, that we decided to record, in the modern day. We also have Pearl Jam's "Black" that goes under a scene in the documentary. Doug.
We do.
Oh,
I'm gonna go back and watch. I don't
Yeah,
remember that.
I
I
don't
do
remember
not
that either.
remember.
it is in there. So Pearl Jam fans, if you're in that crossover demographic that I'm sure is very wide of Pearl Jam fans who also listen to Storytellers, and now you got that little Easter egg to find in the documentary. Go find the hidden Pearl Jam song.
I'm gonna have to go look for that myself now because I have no recollection of us covering Pearl Jam.
Yep, we got a version of Black in there during the part of the documentary where we're discussing the World's Edge Day. So
Oh my!
good time, fun. I mean, and honestly, it has made me feel a little more like the younger version of our creative selves to be taking other artists that we admire and doing their songs and not just writing our own. So to that end, again, folks, keep with us all summer. We got more coming, but first things first, the Ramones. I Believe in Miracles next Tuesday at 8 o'clock, and what we hope is a fun little video that goes along with it that you all will enjoy. And let us know, please do. If you see it and you like it, make sure you tell us, make a comment, give us a like, share it. That would be fantastic. And we, as always, we just appreciate the support and thank you guys for tuning in.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Until next time,
Be
we
nice
may-
to each other. Stay safe. Wear a mask. Stay 6 feet apart, and be nice to each other.
Yeah.
take care, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.